Back segment tonight, the National Journal, a political newspaper, took a survey about this year's political winners and losers. In the loser category, we have President Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Governor Charlie Crist of Florida, Charles Rangel, Michael Steele, and Meg Whitman. Winner circle, John Boehner, Sarah Palin, Marco Rubio, Harry Reid, and Governor Haley Barbour of Mississippi. Joining us now from Washington to analyze, Mary Catherine Ham and Juan Williams. So, Juan, what name jumps out at you in either category?
Well, Sarah Palin sure jumps out. I think Sarah Palin's a big winner this year in terms of celebrity, Bill. I'm not sure she's a big winner in terms of politics, and that's because if you stop and think about it, she's making more money. She had a best-selling book. She's got the TV series, even her daughter, on Dancing with the Stars. But when it comes to whether or not she enhanced her ability in the mind of the American people to be a marketable, reasonable presidential candidate, I don't think so. I think even most Republicans now in the polls question whether or not she has the credibility to be president. So that jumps out at me a little bit. And then the second one that jumps out at me is when I stop and think about losers, obviously BP Oil is a big loser this year. Stanley McChrystal, the general who had loose lips and got ousted in Afghanistan, he's a loser. Or Floyd Mayweather, the boxer who won't box, I think he's a loser. But when I think about big losers, I oftentimes think about people like Arlen Specter or Bob Bennett, the senators who couldn't handle the political temperatures of the day.
They're going for the big guns.
I don't see Obama.
Floyd Merriweather, I didn't even know he was running for anything. Is he?
No, he's a boxer.
Yeah. I know who he is. Why would he be on here? Come on. All right, now, Mary Catherine, on the loser list, Nancy Pelosi obviously loses her seat, and
right.
Her whole philosophy was repudiated, so she's a loser. President Obama, why do you think they put him on the list?
Well, I think Obama's kind of a no-brainer on this list. I mean, has anybody... They say if you're higher up, you have farther to fall, and he certainly has illustrated that in the past 2 years.
But he made a comeback, according to Charles Krauthammer.
I'm not sure that comeback is really coming to fruition. I actually have some questions about whether Nancy Pelosi is actually a loser, because listen to this. For her mind, she's a liberal who's passed enough new regulation that they could honor her by covering the entire Golden Gate in red tape. She is still the leader, even though she led them to historical losses, and she can go back to San Francisco to a beautiful place where they have no Happy Meals. I mean, it's like, I'm not sure she's a loser.
She's a loser in the sense that her power, Juan,
right.
is a
From
lot,
her point of view, I'm not sure she's a loser.
Okay, no, from her point of view.
Yeah, I think she's a loser, and I got to tell you this, it hurts me because I think that right now the Democrats in the House feel like it's the winter of their discontent. They're wandering in the wilderness. They don't know what to do. They feel like the president's just negotiating with Republicans. Everything that happens, they feel for the next 2 years, they're out of it. They're not players. And so Nancy Pelosi was number 3, as National Journal said, in terms of power, to succeed the president. Now she's way down the list, and she's, an afterthought in terms of power dynamics in this Capitol.
Well, that's what
On the other side, I would say that Harry Reid is a surprise winner. That name really jumps out at me.
Yeah, and he's on the winner list. He's there.
Right.
Well, he survived that challenge, and now he's still the head of the Senate.
He's still leader.
Yeah. I mean, he's there, and that's that. Now, Haley Barbour, Mary Catherine, Governor of Mississippi, why is he on the list?
Well, he's on the list because the Republican Governors Association was incredibly effective in electing folks and just being run as a competent organization. And when you compare that to, say, the RNC and how it was run, sometimes that became a very good comparison.
You think he's a legitimate presidential contender? We hear that name. We hear Mr. Barbour's name, Governor Barbour's name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know today he had a controversial quote that came out that may affect that picture in the future.
Refresh me, because
He made some sort of reference to the civil rights movement as he experienced in Mississippi, which seemed to downplay its importance or its historic.
Probably have to deal with that tomorrow.
That may change things. But I would add, I do want to add, I think one oversight for the losers list was teachers unions specifically and public sector unions in general. I think there's been a real shift in public attitude.
But I think
with
they're
this
going
idea
for
that they're
people
just,
here. Yeah, not entities.
I think that there's been a huge shift politically that's going to matter in the future about that.
Now, Juan, last question for you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I thought it was a fascinating discussion we had with Coulter and Hume about, and I do believe this is in play. The Democratic Party saying, you know what, we got our butts kicked politically. We got to go to moral road here if we want to get the social justice. If we want to get all this stuff in. We got to do the emotional appeal, because the other stuff didn't work. That's where I think this is all going.
Wow, that's interesting, because I think that if they go that road, they're not going to get very far for two reasons. One is, even on the tax extension bill, initially most Americans said no to the idea of giving the tax cuts for more than $250, but once they realized, hey, you know what, this has consequences for the entire economy, and for me personally, in terms of job prospects, retirement, income, pensions, the American people changed their view. So I think we're all very, especially this time of year, the Christmas season, very sensitive to giving and to who has much, and great gratitude to be Americans. But to say somehow you're going to separate us on that basis and that it's somehow going to help the whole economy if we punish the rich, it just doesn't work.
Well, it's not working politically,
Yeah.
but I think they're going to make the case, Mary Catherine, that Jesus would be on their side.
They're going to continue to make
Well,
that case.
Jesus
I mean,
was a liberal. There's no getting away from that.
Some people contend that he
Social
wasn't.
justice-
He's a pretty tough guy, towing the road. Go ahead, Mary
Well,
Catherine.
social justice is pretty much the whole playbook if you're a regular liberal, and that's the argument they're going to continue to make. But as Ann Coulter was saying, compassion does not equal being compelled to give your income to someone else. True compassion requires actually doing out of the goodness of your own heart and understanding that taxes are part of your obligation. But I think true compassion lies elsewhere.
All right. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you both.